Breaking news this afternoon, a massive fire has engulfed a 27-story residential building in West London, burning up the entire building. The exact number of casualties are yet to be known, but according to local media, the fire broke out at Grenfell Tower on the Lancaster West Estate at around 1 a.m. local time, when most residents would have been fast asleep. Concerns are growing that many may not have made it out, as only a few people so far have been treated for injuries and smoke inhalation.
For almost 2 days, the rain fell. Many people were asleep in their homes when the mudslides followed. Some survivors described the ground simply disappearing from under their feet. For those still asleep, there was little chance of escape.
Are we due for a big one soon? And can we expect a major earthquake here in Israel, taking into account that the last major earthquakes in the country destroyed Jerusalem and Sfat?
Yeah, we are due to a major earthquake. We don't know when it will come. We know more or less where it will strike. It will strike somewhere along the Dead Sea Rift, which you call the Syrian-African Rift. So it will strike somewhere along this rift, and we have to be prepared for it, of course.
US authorities have issued an alert over the activities of a hacking group that they say is acting under orders from North Korea. The Department of Homeland Security and the FBI issued the joint alert on Tuesday, warning cyber actors of the North Korean government were targeting US businesses and infrastructure. According to the US government, the hacking group, which has been dubbed Hidden Cobra, had targeted the media, aerospace and financial sectors and said further attacks were very likely. North Korea has also been linked to the WannaCry ransomware attack, which occurred last month, infecting more than 250,000 computers around the world.
American college student Otto Warmbier is on his way home to Ohio in a coma after almost a year and a half in North Korean custody.
Beg for forgiveness.
We last saw 22-year-old Otto Warmbier in February of last year during an emotional and likely coerced confession in North Korea.
I never should have allowed myself to be allured by the United States administration to commit a crime in this country.
The University of Virginia student was sentenced to 15 years hard labor for allegedly stealing a propaganda poster that featured the late Korean leader Kim Jong-il. North Korea called it a hostile act against the state. After his trial, Warmbier allegedly fell ill and has been in a coma ever since.
Well, when the next war does come, what will U.S. weapons look like? And America's high-tech military drones are only the beginning. Future weapons may seem like they're straight out of science fiction, complete with robots running on artificial intelligence. CBN's national security correspondent, Eric Rosales, takes a look at the latest technology from the Defense Department designed to keep our military stronger and safer.
Almost there. It may look like something out of Star Wars, but even R2-D2 couldn't hold a circuit board to this little guy. It's the latest bomb disposal robot. New advancements give the operator greater precision and even lets the robot think on its own.
Our next generation systems are going to have more autonomous capabilities where you'll be able to designate a waypoint on an overhead map or on board a video screen, and the robot will automatically drive to that waypoint.
This allows the operator to keep an eye out for the enemy while still driving to the bomb's location. Currently, the Department of Defense has thousands of scientists and engineers working at more than 60 DoD labs in 22 states. Their effort? To give us a war-fighting edge and to keep all Americans safe. I can see the firing commands, the compass below, 160, 170, 180. Wow. It superimposes a computer-generated image of the real world, allowing the gunner on a ship to see the command on when to fire.
The gunner is receiving his firing commands from someone standing next to him, who's on a radio, who's receiving the firing commands from someone else far away.
So it takes the place of a person.
Any potential enemy firing positions, any potential obstacles that are updated on that map, I see in a view and a display on here.
Ground forces use similar technology that includes day and nighttime thermal imagery. If a soldier's under heavy fire but doesn't want to expose any part of the body, that's not an issue.
I can put this around a wall. I can fire it from overhead, and I can still see where it's looking. I have a point of aim, and I can still effectively fire my weapon because of that wireless connectivity with this device.
Another potential idea? Low-cost disposable aircraft using a 3D printer. Planes can be designed for specific missions, such as for weapons, jamming radar, or finding targets. Engineers say their life expectancy is a lot shorter than the real thing, but can be made for a fraction of the cost. From inside the Pentagon, Eric Rosales, I'm firing. Boom. CBN News.
If you watched the opening of the Nasdaq stock market yesterday, you saw that. A robot, Yumi as it's called, it was ringing the bell. That robot is now here in New York on set with me. What does it do that an ordinary robot does not do?
So the beautiful thing about what this robot does, it is a collaborative robot, which is a step function change in the technology evolution.
No, you lost us all. Hold on a second. Shall I do this? You tell it what to do. You show it what to do. You manually, you put your hands on it and you tell it what to do. You manipulate it personally, don't you?
Exactly. So what this technology allows you to do is to basically take and give it flexibility in manufacturing, where you can take the robot and change the manipulation that you want it to do, versus having to do the manual recoding. So think about the flexibility that offers manufacturers. There's 6 million small to medium-sized manufacturers globally that now can begin to implement this technology. This robot costs roughly $50,000. It works 24/7, 365 days of the year, with no health care overtime.
The European Commission says it's launching infringement procedures against the Czech Republic, Hungary and Poland. The move comes following the country's failure to take in refugees under the EU's quota plan.
Now, they will most likely take the form of financial penalties. Those nations have relied heavily on money for development coming from Brussels. They could see a lot of that drying up if this goes as far as that. When we look at the numbers, though, Poland was supposed to take 7,000 asylum applicants who had been relocated. They've taken 0. The Czech Republic was supposed to take 1,600. They've managed 12. And Hungary was supposed to take 1,300. They've also managed 0.
Eyewitnesses in Syria are claiming U.S.-led coalition forces dropped white phosphorus munitions in the city of Raqqa, the capital of the self-proclaimed Islamic State in the country. RT's Natasha Sweet has more about the dramatic images being released.
Eyewitnesses are pointing to the U.S.-led coalition after pictures surfaced of what appeared to be white phosphorus munitions lighting up the city of Raqqa. Well, activists on the ground say 33 people were killed and 25 were injured in a series of raids. Well, take a look at this video. You can see a smoky white residue filling up the air. Witnesses say it is white phosphorus. But to give you an idea of what white phosphorus is, it is an offensive weapon that's self-igniting. It burns quickly and produces an immediate smoke screen. Well, its use is banned in densely populated civilian areas by the Geneva Conventions. The reason why is because the impact is notably catastrophic to the human body. The chemical reportedly causes skin to melt away from the bone. Well, the New York Times cited an unnamed U.S. official who confirmed that American forces do have access to white phosphorus, but the official insists it's not being deployed against civilians.
Serbia is launching a lawsuit against NATO over the bombing in 1999. According to their legal team, it used depleted uranium munitions, and these have allegedly caused the rise in cancer-related illnesses across the country over the last 2 decades.
In other news, Panama cut ties with Taiwan on Tuesday, switching allegiance to China and further isolating the small island nation. In a joint statement, the Panamanian government said it recognized there was only one China and considered Taiwan to be a part of it. Panama President Juan Carlos Varela said he was convinced establishing diplomatic relations with Beijing was the right path for his country. Beijing, being the biggest client of the Panama Canal, is likely to have been a key contributing factor in the decision. Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen expressed her disappointment at Panama's decision.
Taiwan's value and status in the international society will not be shattered. We are a sovereign country. Our sovereignty does not tolerate any challenge and is not exchangeable. We absolutely do not rejoice ourselves to see cross-strait relations deteriorate from a peaceful status to confrontation because of a wrongdoing and provocation from the Beijing authorities.
Panama is the latest to switch sides, leaving Taiwan now with about 20 global allies, mostly comprised of small Caribbean and African nations.
A Pakistan court has sentenced a man to death for posting blasphemous content on Facebook. Taimur Raza was arrested by counterterrorism police after he allegedly posted derogatory content about the Prophet Muhammad, his wives, and other religious figures. Raza made the comments while getting into a debate on Facebook with a man who ended up being a counterterrorism agent, according to The Guardian. Raza was charged with insulting the Prophet Muhammad and a section of the Anti-Terrorism Act that deals with sectarian hatred, according to Pakistani news outlet Dawn. Raza is the first person in Pakistan to be sentenced to death for blasphemy through social media. According to Dawn, Pakistan has never executed someone convicted of blasphemy. However, people have been killed in acts of popular violence after being accused of it. In April, a university student was beaten to death by an angry mob because of an untrue rumor he had insulted Islam.
Child labor can be dangerous, and often it involves manual jobs. But working kids in India can't always avoid the potentially fatal heat. Several industries that use child labor require outdoors work, which can mean heat exposure. These include cotton, mining, tea collecting, and construction. It's also not uncommon to see kids selling items on the street. Heat especially affects those in poverty, and poverty is one of the reasons many children in India end up working in the first place. One study found just the half-degree Celsius increase in India from 1960 to 2009 upped the chance of death by 146%. And this summer in India is expected to break more temperature records. Another study blames climate change in several countries, including India, for forcing kids into more dangerous types of labor. That's because their parents' crops might suffer, so there's no other way to support the family. Although estimates say child labor overall in the country is down, for the kids still doing that work, the weather could make their jobs more dangerous.
Christian humanitarian and evangelist Franklin Graham is speaking out about a new law passed in Ontario, Canada. He says the U.S. should be on guard over the law that pits Christian parents against LGBTQ interests. The Supporting Children, Youth and Families Act, also known as Bill 89, replaces Ontario's previous law dealing with child protection, foster care, and adoption. It redefines the best interest of the child to include sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression. Graham wrote on Facebook, "Can you imagine having the government take your child away from you? If the children decided they felt like switching their gender identity and you disagreed."
For example, if there's a family who has a child who says, "Mom, we've all had kids who say funny things sometimes, but sometimes a child will say, 'Hey, Mom, I think I'm actually a boy,' when this child's a girl." Well, if the parent doesn't immediately say, "Seek surgical intervention or hormone therapy," the state could decide that, hey, you know what, those parents aren't seeking the best interest of the child, ergo, we need to intervene.
How old are you?
95.
Man, you look good for 95.
95 years young and still doing his own yard work. And tonight, this man is sleeping cool as a cucumber, he says. And this is all thanks to some Fort Worth police officers. This is worthy of noting. These officers met Julius Hatley on a call today, and they quickly realized that this 95-year-old man's air conditioner was not working.
I had it last night. It went out last night and had now. So I had to sit on the porch and watch it. My porch is cool. Yeah. Yeah, so that's what I'm having. So I appreciate that.
So he says, I appreciate that. This is what Mr. Hatley appreciates. These officers went to Home Depot, bought Mr. Hatley a brand new unit, weren't asked to do anything. The gesture then struck a chord with the store's managers and the employees, prompting them to throw $150 of their own money in toward the purpose. Good.
Gotta love that.
Good begets good every single time.
And I tell you what, we better do yard work till we're 95 if we can look as good as he does.
Man is holding a high standard.
Yes.